Let's be honest. No one says it out loud, but you felt it. Kindness alone won't protect you. Good intentions don't guarantee results. And in the real world, they often make you an easy target. Let me ask you, how many times have you done the right thing and been ignored? How many moments have you watched others step over you? Not because they were better, but because they were sharper. You were taught that goodness is rewarded, that honesty, loyalty, and compassion always win in the end. But the truth, the world doesn't operate on morality. It operates on leverage. And this is where Niccolo Machiavelli steps in, not as a villain, but as a realist. In The Prince, he exposed a harsh truth. Virtue without caution is a weakness. Morality without discernment is a trap. You've likely fallen into that trap, believing that being liked was enough, that being seen as a good person would open doors, earn loyalty, bring success. But instead, you were taken advantage of, used, overlooked. Look at the people who've climbed high. Do you really think they got there through kindness alone? They understood something deeper. Morality isn't an obstacle, it's a tool, and knowing when to use it and when to hide it is the difference between playing the game and being played by it. Your problem isn't that you're kind, it's that you assume others play by the same rules. They don't. The world is full of smiling predators, and they can spot naivete from a mile away. What Machiavelli offered wasn't corruption, it was strategic awareness. It's not about becoming ruthless. It's about learning to protect what's yours without having to apologize for it. So now I ask you, would you rather be accepted or respected? Let's be honest. What has your goodness earned you so far? Not respect, not influence. What you've gained is the reputation of someone who can be used, without consequences. Because kindness without strength doesn't inspire admiration. It inspires pity. Now don't misunderstand me. This isn't about abandoning your values. It's about learning to be good without being naive. The world doesn't reward purity. It rewards clarity, precision, and the ability to adapt to darkness when needed. True virtue isn't submission. It's knowing how to balance ethics with pragmatism. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He taught that power isn't just about what you are. It's about what others believe you are. If you present yourself as weak, you'll be treated as such. If you radiate strength, you'll be approached with caution, even respect. So ask yourself, how many times have you allowed disrespect just to avoid tension? How often have you stayed quiet to keep the peace, only to lose more than you ever gained? This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about becoming strategic. The art is knowing when to act, when to speak, when to hold back, and when to strike. Kindness is an asset when you control it. But uncontrolled kindness, it becomes a weapon used against you. This is the mistake so many good people make. They believe the world respects pure intentions. It doesn't. The world respects power, the ability to take hard decisions, the ability to draw lines. Kindness without authority is just noise. And the truth is, if you have no power, your goodness is irrelevant. Machiavelli would say, don't be a dove in a forest full of foxes. Don't let your morality become your cage. Real virtue isn't blind obedience, it's intelligence. It's not about shrinking to fit in. It's about reshaping the space around you, commanding respect without begging for it. So ask yourself honestly, how much longer will you let the world walk over you? How many more times will you sacrifice yourself in the name of approval? I'm not telling you to stop being kind. I'm telling you to be kind in a way that actually protects you. Learn when to walk in the light and when to move through the shadows. The world isn't fair, but you can learn its rules and still remain true to who you are. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to turn you into a monster. He wrote it to help you survive. So now I ask, will you keep clinging to the illusion that kindness alone is enough? Or will you begin to apply true intelligence? Because here comes a concept few people truly grasp: the power of perception. It's not enough to be strong. You have to appear strong. It's not enough to be intelligent. You must project intelligence, because in this world, reality is second place. What others perceive becomes the truth they act on. Think about it. How many times have you seen incompetence rise above talent? How often have you watched manipulators succeed while noble, hardworking people remain invisible? That's not a flaw in the system. It's how the system works. People don't follow the honest. They don't rally behind the kind. They follow the one who seems in control, the one who owns the room, manages their image, and radiates confidence, even if they're still figuring it out behind the scenes. And this is where many good people fail. They believe the truth will speak for itself. They think integrity and skill alone are enough. But the world doesn't reward what's real, it rewards what's visible. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. It's not just about who you are, it's about what people believe you are. A competent leader who projects doubt inspires none. A brilliant mind without presence is overlooked. A kind soul without command is dismissed. People won't see your value unless you know how to shape the narrative around yourself. This isn't deception, it's direction. It's learning to guide the attention of others, to control what they focus on, to show what needs to be seen, and when. Every social interaction is filtered through bias, assumption, and emotion. You are never seen as you are seen as you appear. So ask yourself, are you letting those filters work against you? Or are you using them to your advantage? Because if you are skilled but look uncertain, they'll overlook you. If you are fair but appear soft, they'll take advantage of you. If you are valuable but seem passive, they will walk past you. It's that simple. The art of perception is the dividing line between those who shape their destiny and those who are shaped by others. And now we enter a deeper layer, one that makes many uncomfortable, but is absolutely essential to power: the control of information. Have you ever wondered why the most powerful people always seem to know something others don't? Why those who dominate the game always seem one step ahead? The answer is simple. They speak when necessary and stay silent when it matters most. Naive minds believe full honesty is a virtue, that saying everything you think, revealing everything you know, makes you noble. But in the real world, information is power, and you cannot give away power without consequences. Machiavelli warned, a ruler must know how to conceal his intentions. Not because deception is evil, but because in a world where everyone is looking for an edge, the one who reveals too much becomes a target. You must learn to control what you share. Say only what's necessary, and no more. Leave room for uncertainty. Let people wonder what you're really thinking. Because the moment you become predictable, the moment they can map your every move, you lose all strategic advantage. The greatest players, in politics, in business, in art, they all understood this. Strategic silence is just as powerful as speech. Think of someone you admire, someone with real influence. Are they the type to explain themselves to everyone? Or do they always leave something unsaid, a part of their plan, a part of themselves, hidden? The problem is this. Many confuse transparency with weakness. They think that if they don't reveal everything, they're being dishonest. But it's not about lying, it's about directing the flow of information to your advantage. Now reflect. How many times have you said too much and paid the price? How often have you trusted the wrong person, only to watch your words used against you? How often have you justified yourself to people who never deserved your explanation in the first place? Power doesn't come from speaking more. Power comes from knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. And here lies the lesson almost no one applies. The person who talks less commands more. Why? Because silence breeds uncertainty. Uncertainty fuels curiosity. And curiosity gives power. When you reveal everything too quickly, you lose your mystery. And once mystery dies, so does leverage. If you're always explaining yourself, people will assume you need to. But when you only speak when it matters, when your words are measured, deliberate, and leave space for interpretation, people start to listen differently. And now we arrive at another essential principle: the art of unpredictability. Predictable people are easy to manipulate. If your reactions are always the same, if your emotions are consistent, if your decisions follow a pattern, you become readable. And once you're readable, you're controllable. But when people can't predict your next move, when your actions don't follow a script, you become dangerous. And dangerous people are respected. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. A leader who's an open book is easy to undermine, but a leader who adapts, who shifts gears when needed, who refuses to be labeled, that's the leader who holds power. So here's the real question. Do you want to keep being easy to read, easy to use, easy to overlook? Or do you want to become a strategist, someone who shapes perception, controls information, and uses unpredictability as leverage? Because kindness without awareness is an invitation to be devoured. The world won't change its rules to suit you. You must learn to play by the rules that actually exist, not the ones you were told to believe in. And once you do, for the first time, you'll stop being a passive player in the game and start becoming someone who shapes it. But now, let's take it further. Let's talk about something even more subtle: the art of strategic distance. Most people think that power means being everywhere, being visible, constantly present, always engaged. But that's a mistake. The person who's always available loses value. Scarcity creates demand. Absence creates presence. Think about it. Why do some people command more respect simply by entering a room, while others struggle to be taken seriously no matter how hard they try? The difference isn't in talent, it's in perceived value. Machiavelli warned, a ruler should never be too accessible, not because he should look down on his people, but because excessive familiarity breeds indifference. When you're always there, when you give endlessly, when you make yourself a constant resource, people start to devalue your presence, your generosity, your time. And this doesn't just apply to politics or power. It applies to friendships, to love, to business. When you give too much, you become expected. When you're always present, you become replaceable. And once you're seen as a resource, you're no longer seen as a person of power. Think about it. How many times have you given everything to someone, only to be taken for granted? How many times have you been there for everyone, only to be forgotten the moment you needed someone? That's not bad luck. That's human nature. What is abundant is overlooked. What is scarce is valued. That's why you must learn to regulate your presence, to ration your attention, to manage how available you appear. Don't always answer immediately. Don't always be within reach. Let your absence be noticed. Let your presence grow in weight. Because when you learn to step back at the right moment, when you learn to pull your energy away with precision, people begin to search for you. They start to realize what you bring when you're not constantly offering it. But here's the problem. Most people are afraid to disappear. They fear that if they're not always visible, they'll be forgotten. But here's the brutal truth. If the only reason people remember you is because you're always around, then they never truly valued you. The ones who leave a lasting impact aren't those who shout the loudest, but those who master silence, who know when to retreat and when to return. Look at any real power player in history. The ones who move pieces don't show up for every fight. They wait, and when they appear, the room shifts. People listen, and that brings us to something deeper: emotional control as a tool of power. This is where most people fail. They think power is loud, that it's about aggression, dominance, imposing themselves with raised voices and clenched fists. But Machiavelli knew better. True mastery isn't forceful, it's subtle. It's in the quiet confidence of the person who can hold their ground without losing their center. Because the moment you lose control of your emotions, you become predictable. And once you're predictable, you're easy to provoke, easy to manipulate, easy to defeat. Think about the last time someone pushed you to anger, the moment you snapped, the moment you said or did something you regretted. Who had the power in that moment? It wasn't you. It was the one who made you react, the one who controls your emotions, controls your actions. And here lies the real key. The one who cannot be provoked, the one who holds their center no matter what, is the one who truly holds power. It doesn't matter if you're in an argument, a negotiation, a relationship, or a public spotlight. Emotional control always wins, because the person who controls their emotions controls how others perceive them. And perception, as we've said, is everything. Machiavelli made this clear. A wise man must act with composure, calculation, and timing. This isn't about suppressing your feelings. It's about refusing to be a slave to them. It's about not becoming a reactive animal, easily triggered, easily played. And if you apply this correctly, you become untouchable. People may try to rattle you. They may push, prod, provoke. But if they can't shift your emotional state, they lose all leverage over you. That's the truth. The most dominant players in any arena aren't the loudest. They're the calm ones surrounded by chaos, the ones who stay still while everyone else panics. And that brings us to one final weapon, the one most overlooked, but perhaps the most powerful: strategic patience. Most people want results now, respect now, success now, recognition now. But Machiavelli taught, and history confirms, that real power doesn't belong to the impulsive. It belongs to those who know how to wait. The world is full of people who rush, who act without thinking, who make decisions based on urgency rather than clarity. But the ones who control the game, they observe, they calculate, they wait. Think of a hunter. He doesn't fire at the first movement. He watches. He blends in. He waits until the prey is exactly where it needs to be. Then he strikes. This is the game of power. It's not about moving first, it's about moving at the right time. Machiavelli said, "Fortune favors those who adapt to changing circumstances, not those who rush blindly, but those who know when to press forward and when to hold position." Mediocre minds act out of impulse. Strategic minds act out of insight. So let me ask you directly, are you the one who charges blindly into noise? Or the one who waits, then strikes with surgical precision? Because in this world, power doesn't belong to the fastest. It belongs to the smartest. This world rewards those who master perception, control information, embrace distance, hold their emotions, and move with strategic patience. And if you apply all of it, you stop being a target in the game and become a real player. The world won't suddenly become fair. But now, you'll know how to move within its rules, or better yet, around them. But here's what separates those who survive from those who dominate: the ability to become an anomaly within the system. Because now you know. Now you understand. Kindness alone isn't enough. Perception shapes your reality. Emotional control is power. Strategic patience beats impulse. Scarcity increases value. But what good is knowing all this if you continue acting like everyone else? If you want different results, you must become someone the system can't predict. Not in a way that rebels without purpose, but in a way that rewrites the script. The problem with most people is that they operate within invisible boundaries. They follow the same patterns. They respond the way they're expected to. They stay inside what's acceptable and safe. But those who shift the board, the ones who play the game to win, are the ones who refuse to be predictable, who invent new tactics, who move in silence, who make the unexpected look intentional. And here's the great secret. The world is built to defeat those who conform. If you act like the rest, you will be treated like the rest. And that means mediocrity. It means being just another forgotten name in the endless flow of time. The only way to win is to break the mold. To be the one who acts differently. The one who doesn't react how they expect. The one who always has a hidden card. The one no one fully understands, but everyone watches closely. Be the one whose words are rare, so they carry weight. Because once you understand this, something shifts inside you. You realize you were never weak. You just weren't playing the right game. You realize people didn't ignore you because you lacked value. They ignored you because you never knew how to project it. But now you do. And that's dangerous. Because the moment you start applying this, there's no going back. The moment you begin controlling your presence, your image, your silence, your information, the world responds differently. Those who used to overlook you will now pay attention. Those who once underestimated you will wonder what changed. The people who used to manipulate you will start hesitating before making a move. Because you're not the same anymore. Now, you're someone who understands how the game works. And now comes the most important decision. Will you apply this? Or will you return to ignorance? Because the difference between those who rise and those who fall behind isn't knowledge. It's action. You can keep this information floating in your mind. Just another interesting idea. Or you can start using it. The choice is yours. But I'll warn you, if you go back to how things were, if you keep acting the same way, you'll be doing it knowing you've chosen invisibility. You'll be choosing to stay ignored. Or you can begin the shift right now, not with grand gestures, but with small, strategic changes. Start introducing mystery into your interactions. Control the urge to overshare. Respond with calm instead of reacting emotionally. Pull back at the right moment. Observe in silence before you act. Tiny moves that reshape how others see you. Tiny moves that, before you even realize, transform you into someone who cannot be ignored. Because the world doesn't remember those who simply existed. It remembers the ones who knew how to play. And now, tell me, are you ready to play? If you've made it this far, I want to know who truly understood the message. Leave the phrase, "Power is in the silence," in the comments. Let's see how many of you are really ready to start changing with strategy. And if this video made you question something, if it helped you see the game from a different angle, subscribe, because this is just the beginning. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, don't just be another player in the system. Be the one who rewrites the rules.